So let's start dividing this problem. We need to set up the problem first. First, you should check to make sure that you have one of each term. And what I mean by that is check your highest exponent. I see that it's a 3. I should have an x to the third, an x to the second, an x to the first power, and then no x's whatsoever. I see an x to the third, but then I skip down to x to the first. I skipped my x to the second term, so when we write it in, we make sure that we put in a placeholder as 0. So we have 8x cubed plus no x squared. Again, we don't see it because there are none. That's why we put this placeholder. It'll make our division possible for this problem. Minus 12x minus 7. We have our dividend written. Now we need to write our divisor. I'll do all of my work kind of to the side of the squiggly line. So our first step is to divide. When we divide our first term of the dividend by just the first term of our divisor. So I get 8x cubed divided by 2x. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4, where I have 3 x's, and one of the x's from the bottom will cancel out. X cubed divided by x leaves me with 2 x's left, or x squared. This answer goes on top as part of the quotient, or the answer to our overall problem. We finished our first round of dividing. Now let's go into multiplication. We always take whatever is above the line and multiply it, not by just the first term anymore, but the whole divisor. So I have 4x squared from on top times 2x plus 3. That's my divisor. Anytime I have something in parentheses, I need to make sure that I distribute. Distribute means multiply to each term. So 4 times 2 gives me 8, whereas x squared times x gives me x to the third power. I finished distributing 4x squared to 2x. Now I should multiply 4x squared to 3. I have a positive 4 times a positive 3, which gives me a positive 12. And then this x squared has no other x's to combine with, so it stays an x squared. This answer will go underneath our dividend. To 1. Okay, we have finished our multiplication step for the first round. Now we go to subtraction. We subtract these two lines. Be careful. Make sure that we are subtracting. A lot of students will mess up right at this part. So what I recommend is put parentheses around your bottom piece and distribute this negative inside. This was a positive 8x cubed, but when I distribute it, it becomes a negative 8x cubed. This positive 12x squared, again, when I distribute the negative, becomes a negative 12x squared. This helps because we can now add straight down. So let's do that. 8x cubed, take away 8x cubed, those cancel each other out. 0x squared minus 12x squared gives me a total of negative 12x squared. We have finished our subtraction for the first round. Next, we bring down our next term. That would be 12x, negative 12x in this case. So I put a minus 12x. I'm not sure why I keep switching to green there, but no big deal. Okay, now we go back to our division step. Instead of seeing how many times we can fit into the divisor right here, we now want to see how many times 2x, our divisor, will go into 12x squared. So I'm going to do 12x squared divided by the 2x again. Every time we divide, we should be dividing by the same thing. 12 divided by, this was a negative 12x squared, so make sure we keep our negatives in there, sorry. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. X squared divided by x leaves me with a singular x. That is what I will put on top of my division. I have finished my second round of division. Now my next step is to multiply. I take this new answer I got, negative 6x, and again, I multiply it by the divisor, 2x plus 3. Same deal, we will distribute to each term. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. X times x is x squared. I finished distributing to my first term. Negative 6x times a positive 3 is a negative 18. And again, I have no other x's, so this just becomes an x. I will write this underneath my previous answer. We have finished multiplying. We distributed. Next comes subtraction. Again, be careful with this one. I'm going to distribute this negative to each of these two terms. A negative times a negative would turn this into a positive. A negative times negative 18x would make this a positive. Now I can add straight down without worrying about this minus sign anymore. So I'll delete that real quick. Let's get what our answer would be. Negative 12x squared plus 12x squared. Well, those cancel each other out because they are opposites. Negative 12x plus 18x, I like to think of it as 18 minus 12, leaves us with 6x. Again, we will bring down the next term as we have finished with our subtraction and begin the last round of our division process. 2x goes into 6x. Well, let's divide on the side. 6x divided by 2x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The x's will cancel each other out. So that means I have a positive 3, meaning on top of my division, I will write a positive 3 plus 3. Sorry if that's sloppy. Now, we have finished our third, and in this case, final step of dividing. Now we go to our third step of multiplying. We multiply our 3 times 2x plus 3. 3 times 2x plus 3. I'll distribute. 3 times 2x gives me 6x. 3 times 3 gives me a positive 9. That is what I will write below this. Right here. I have finished multiplying. I have finished my distribution. Next comes subtraction. I'll subtract these two lines. Again, distributing that negative sign to my bottom. This gives me a negative 6x. And this positive, a positive times a negative gives me a negative. So this positive becomes a negative 9. I've kind of color-coded so you can see what steps caused what to happen in this problem. Well, let's go through. Again, we can ignore this minus sign on the outside because we've distributed it in, meaning we'll go straight down. 6x minus 6x will cancel each other out. Negative 7 minus 9 gives us a negative 16. I have nothing left to bring down, so I'm now done. What I figured out is that 8x cubed minus 12x minus 7 divided by 2x plus 3 is equal to 4x squared minus 6x plus 3. 4x squared minus 6x plus 3 with a remainder of, it looks like, negative 16. Negative 16. At this point, we have finished the problem.